You're like, okay, well, this is what I've got to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my entrance to China. I just thought like, this place is wild.
Yeah. What advice would you give to anybody to anyone who's looking for new opportunities, new job opportunities, or new life experiences, or just getting out? So you're cycling literally from Beijing, China, all the way to where?
To Edinburgh, I think.
Edinburgh.
We're recording. Can you hear me?
I think so. Yes. Okay.
Oh yeah, look at that. You can hear the yay! We're here. Look, you can even see the volume.
Yay. So we're in Hohai here in Beijing in China, and I'm joined by one of my really, really good mates, Miss Morag.
That's me.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about you first. So where you're from, where you were born, where you grew up, etc.
So I'm from Aberdeen, Scotland. So that's where I was born and grew up until I was about 16 years old. Then I moved to Edinburgh. So a very short history. I didn't move around a lot until I was about 24. So yeah, all of that time was just in Scotland.
Cool. And you don't actually have that Scottish accent that everybody can notice really quickly. Why is that?
My parents, all my family apart from me are English, so I grew up in a very English-speaking household.
So they moved to Scotland?
Yeah, they moved to Scotland just before I was born, so I was the only one in the family, which has worked out well for me because now I've got an accent, especially in China, that people can understand.
We do love the Scottish accent.
We do, but my Chinese friends, when they watch Scottish TV or a Scottish movie, they're like, what?
Yeah.
So it's good for me. It's good.
For sure. So where did you go to uni? What did you do at uni, etc., etc.?
I went to university in Edinburgh. I studied journalism, which served me well. I was at Edinburgh Napier University, so not the fancy Edinburgh University. It was like the tiny little college version of university. So yeah, I had like 7 hours of class a week. It was great.
Yeah. Okay, and did you always know what you wanted to do when you were older, like career-wise?
I think ever since, I was trying to think about this when I decided I wanted to be a journalist.
Yeah.
When I was really young, I wanted to be a vet. Then I wanted to be a criminologist, so a complete switch in career paths.
Yeah.
And then
I
I think something my mum had said about that if I wanted to travel, I needed to find a career that would allow for that. And she kind of pushed me down the route of journalism. I don't know if she even remembers that. But yeah, from maybe the age of 12 or 14, that had kind of stuck with me. That you know, maybe I can get a job that I can see the world with, and there wasn't very much else. You know, I could speak to people.
Yeah.
I don't have any real hard skills. So it's like, well, I can talk to people and I want to travel. So journalism kind of stuck with me since then.
Yeah. And what gave you that desire to want to travel?
I think, so I grew up on an old farm in the middle of nowhere. There was like the nearest village was 20 minutes away by car. And I think I'd always wanted to see the world and see what else was out there. I knew that I'd come from a very small community. And just ever since I can remember, that was always the desire to like see other cultures and other countries and get a feel for the world.
Okay, so uni happened.
Yep.
From when you finished uni to getting to China, what was that like? What was your journey then?
So just before university had finished, I went to a talk. Like the university had a program with Yunnan province where they would get teachers from the university. And I'd gone to a talk, and I think I'd signed up that day, and I was like, but I want to come next year so I can save up some money. So I moved to Newcastle in England and saved up some money. I was working a really boring job, like in customer service.
There's nothing wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Been there?
We have all been there, but I was just sitting on a phone all day, and it was just pushing me like, I want to go. And yeah, this kind of dream of going to China stayed with me, because I thought, if you can move to a country where you don't speak the language, you don't know anything about it. I don't know about you, but at school we never really learned about China.
No.
We had like 1 or 2 classes, and it was more about, you know, the political side of things rather than culture or anything like that.
Or in the movies.
Yeah.
So when you first came to China, what did you do?
I was a teacher.
teacher?
For 2 years, in Changsha and Shenzhen. Yeah.
And you spoke no Chinese?
None.
No Mandarin?
No.
Whatsoever?
I knew how to say ni hao and xie xie, and I landed in a city which, I mean, Beijing is quite multicultural in a sense. Like, you can find English speakers, you can find Chinese people that speak English, you can find all your Western comforts, I guess. But in Changsha, there was none of that. There was like one foreign bar. So very quickly I had to learn Chinese.
So
and
very rural.
It was still a huge city. I mean, coming from Edinburgh, which has a population of like 300,000, to go to Changsha, which still has a population of like 11 million people, was quite a step up, but it still was quite, I guess, traditional in a way. You know, it was still much more traditional than here, and people didn't speak English, so it was a shock.
But it must have been a great way to learn the language.
Yeah.
Like, fast track.
Yeah, and you get like shoved in at the deep end, and you're like, okay, well, this is what I've got to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my entrance to China, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I just thought, like, this place is wild.
Yeah.
Like, you're never gonna have a boring day ever again in China.
What's the funniest thing you've experienced, or funniest memory so far?
Funniest. Oh my gosh. Oh, there was. Oh no.
Oh no!
I'm trying to okay. So there was a time where I didn't speak any Chinese, and I moved to Changsha, which is the spiciest county, the spiciest province in China.
Do you do spicy food?
No, I did not do spicy food. I do now, but I didn't when I first got there. So blessing my landlord. So I'd been out for some hot pot and had very bad diarrhea, and blocked my toilet. Okay, I'd blocked my toilet. So I'd left it for a day, and I was like, it's going to clear. I put bleach down it, everything. It wasn't going to budge. And I was like, at some point I'm going to have to message this poor man and ask for someone to come in and unblock my toilet. And I don't know, like, I put so much bleach down it that this man came down 2 days later. So like, I feel so bad for him. He come around 2 days later, and that morning I tried to flush this toilet and it would not flush. And he came in and he just walked in, and remember, I can't speak any Chinese, so I just pointing at my toilet, which is filled with God knows what. And then he just presses it and it flushes. So in his brain, I didn't know how to flush a toilet, and I just got him round. And then also, because I was so embarrassed and I didn't understand Chinese culture, I bowed to him, which is a Japanese custom.
I used to do that first.
It's like not China.
Yeah, okay, this does not work
No.
here in China.
Especially not anyway, so he just left, and I just thought, oh no. And that's probably the first foreigner he's ever met, and he just thinks, oh wow, this girl's gonna die here.
Wild. So, 2 years in China.
Yeah.
What happened after that?
So, as I said, I went to university to study journalism, and once you're here on a visa, like a teacher's visa, it's very difficult to swap that. And I didn't really have a portfolio at that point, so I wanted to go and build up my experience and my portfolio. So I went as a journalist, so I specialized in documentary while I was at university. So then, I left China with the idea that I was going to go and get paid for journalism or filmmaking or whatever. I ended up burning through all of my savings.
As you do.
Yeah. But I got my portfolio, and then I was hireable as someone that could, I could use a video camera and I could edit and all this stuff. So it was like maybe a year and a half of just training myself and being out in the field and, doing what we've done today, being out on the bike and filming. And
you did some amazing stuff when you were out in the field.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that and where you were and what you did and what you saw.
So when I went to Vietnam, so I started in Vietnam. My friend Laurie had this crazy idea that we were going to cycle the country of Vietnam. And at this point, neither of us had sat on a bicycle for about 15 years, maybe. So, we got to Ho Chi Minh and we went to the nearest bicycle shop we could find, and we got the cheapest bikes we could find. It's like $100, which you can kind of understand how bad. The brand new bike's $100. We were like, yeah, okay, bargain. These were the biggest pieces of bicycles ever. So the first thing we did was cycle up Vietnam and filmed that. And then when I got to Hanoi, which is in the north, I got in touch with a friend who was filming there, working for promo for a human trafficking documentary. So I went and did that for 3 months. So it was like horrendous stories, but beautiful, you know, just a filmmaker's dream to be there and interviewing these women, and just the countryside was amazing. And then I run out of money. So I went back to Hanoi and saved up a bit, and then did like little trips to Thailand and Myanmar and stuff for different filming with charities and stuff. I kind of thought maybe that's the way my career would go, like working for NGOs. So yeah, I did some stuff for orphanages in Thailand, filmed for them, and then up in Myanmar as well. And then about that time, I'd applied for jobs and got one from Beijing. So at that point, I was like, oh, I need to go get a visa.
Yeah. So you got enough content,
Yeah.
show reels to show
Yeah.
potential. Of
Exactly.
audience. Okay, so Morag, what's the biggest life lessons you've had so far?
I think the biggest life lessons in terms of career is that like no one is going to just throw an opportunity at you. Like you really need to make it for yourself. So like I've spoken to a couple of friends about it recently. You kind of get focused in on what you're doing, and you just think like at some point something's going to come along and it's going to happen for you, you know, like I'm trying my best. But I think over the course of the last 8 years, I've realized like if you just go and put yourself out there and contact people and make it happen for yourself, it will like instantly come.
Yeah.
Like it really will. I think people wait for things to come to them, and they just need to put themselves out there and just go for the things that they want. And I think it's a big thing today with, you know, imposter syndrome, and we never feel like we're worthy of that, of like, oh, the next big thing, I want it, but maybe I'm not deserving of it. But most of the time when I've tried, then I've got it, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll learn what I'm gonna do with this.
Because even with journalism, right?
Yeah.
Coming from home, the UK,
Yeah.
it is a really competitive place.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many people wanting to, even they will work for free, which is fine, work experience, etc. But even beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. That's why I wanted to leave the UK, because to get any experience, even unpaid experience, was so challenging.
Yeah.
And so when I was working for a year doing all this stuff in Vietnam and Thailand and stuff, that was all unpaid. But, you know, I was also getting an experience out of it.
And life experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
so
just like career experience, but actual life.
yeah, and
Life
just
beyond your borders, beyond your comfort zone.
exactly. And so like that would definitely be something that I would say is a life lesson for me, and something that I'm so proud of that I just went and did it. And obviously, yeah, you need the financial stability there, and you need to have saved, which also being in the UK saving is impossible.
Yeah.
You can't make enough money to live for a year without working.
How did you manage to save enough, just enough to be able to travel to Southeast Asia?
So I cooked a lot. I didn't go out when I was in the UK.
No, but that's
and
really
then
important,
yeah,
actually, because you know, when you talk about traveling abroad, it sounds like a crazy expense, but it's definitely doable if you save and plan ahead.
Yeah.
I think so.
And if you work while you're away, so like there's so many workaway programs where you get board and food for free. So then all you really need is flights. And for example, teaching in China, even my first year I was on like £500 a month, which is nothing. But I was still managing to travel every month. I still saved enough to go traveling for 3 months in summer. You know, there's always a way to save as long as you're living within your means.
Yeah.
So I never actually saved a huge chunk of money, but I always had enough money to go on the next adventure, or, you know, buy equipment or something like that. You know, I think if you want something enough, then you're going to find a way to kind of cut back on other things, and make it happen.
Okay, so what advice would you give to anybody who, just to wrap up this part of the interview, to anyone who's looking for new opportunities, new job opportunities, or new life experiences, or just getting out there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just contact people, like find companies that you'd like to work for or places you'd like to go. And I mean, like we live in such a connected society now where you can literally LinkedIn message the boss of a company and like they'll probably respond. Like, especially since being a journalist here and contacting people, 9 times out of 10 people get back to you and they're pretty open to offer you advice. Like, who doesn't love to be asked for advice and be told that, you know, you aspire to be like them? So yeah, just start networking even if you can't leave the country right now, and put yourself out there. Be cheeky. Like the best ways that I've ever got jobs is just to message people and be like, oh, I'd quite like to do this. And then people usually are like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so put yourself out there and just contact people that you aspire to, and you never know what can happen.
We haven't been home for a while.
Yeah.
What has your COVID experience been like?
It's very difficult to say because I feel like compared to the rest of the world, it's been very chill here in Beijing. Like we never really had proper lockdown. There was never a time where everything was shut. But so when I heard, I left for Spring Festival, I went to South Korea. So the day that I left, they were just speaking about like, oh, there's this virus in Wuhan and blah, blah, blah. But no one was really worried about it yet. Everyone just kind of thought it would be contained. So got on the plane, no problems. The next day when I was in Seoul, every person was wearing a mask. Like you couldn't buy any more masks. It was literally overnight that the world just went.
Yeah, in Beijing.
Was it just like that?
Yeah, it was like every store just ran out of masks.
It was crazy.
And hand sanitizer. So when you would find them, you'd like buy in bulk.
That was the problem, is everyone was bulk buying. And so yeah.
That was me.
That was you. That's why I didn't have hand sanitizer for 6 months.
Work also, I don't know with your company, but they also provided.
Yeah. We got masks and stuff from work. Then, news broke, and I don't know what your family were like at the time, but my family were like, I think you should come home. When it started to get worse and worse, it was an Asia problem, right?
It was like, get home right now.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And it hadn't hit Italy yet, so it was very much like people thought it would be contained within China and South Korea and Japan and stuff. So they wanted me to get home. So yeah, it was my parents on one side saying, come back to the UK, and my work on the other side saying, listen, we need to get your visa sorted if you don't come back. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to China. And it was so bizarre coming in. I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? But it was like empty streets. And then I had to do 2 weeks home quarantine. And then other than that, it was fine. Like life kind of went back to normal. We were working from home for a while, but not as long as, like my friends back home, even a few months ago, were like still working at home, and I'd already been like traveling, and so not that bad.
Yeah.
Obviously it sucks. It's 2 years this month since I last went home, so that's the tough thing. But I think we're all in the same boat, right? So yeah.
What else do you want to accomplish in the future?
I think, to get up to a point where we could maybe get sponsorship or funding for the documentary back to the UK.
So you're cycling literally from Beijing, China, all the way to where in England?
To Edinburgh, I think.
Edinburgh.
So the idea of the documentary is called The Climate Cycle.
Yeah.
We want to kind of see the way that climate change is affecting the whole world, but meet up with like 5 or 6 different people across our journey who are doing incredible things. So like, for example, in India, there's a guy that planted a forest of 1 million trees. I think he's dead now, but his son is still looking after the forest. So things like people like that to highlight climate change, but also what people are, the human connection there.
Who has impacted you in your life, maybe in general? Mm-hmm. It could be in a small or big way. Mm-hmm.
I think most recently, I've got a friend, Lisa, who is just an insane human being. She runs like 168 kilometer races. She's insane. And to have met her, I always thought the stuff I was doing was incredible. And then I met her and I was like, oh my goodness, such an inspiration, and also just so humble with it, and it's fine, like I'm doing what I do. But just to see like a woman be so incredibly strong, but also so supportive and humble of other, supportive of other human beings, that's really aspiring.
And where's Lisa from?
She's from the US, but she's here and she's just about to move to Switzerland. So, well done!